So you've just joined a new company as their trainer. You walk in for the first meeting and the manager says, "We need training ASAP." Well, what kind of training? Who needs it? And where do you even start? Welcome to this session on conducting a learning needs analysis, also known as a LNA. So whether you're stepping into a new company or working in industries like beauty, spa and wellness, an LNA is a secret weapon. So let's start by looking at what we'll cover in today's session. First, we'll talk about why an LNA is essential, not just a box ticking exercise, but as a strategic tool to create training that actually drives results. Then I'll explain how an LNA is different from a training needs analysis, which is a TNA. Next, I'll guide you through some best practices for conducting an LNA. These are steps that I personally have found useful in my work as a trainer. We'll also cover practical methods of gathering meaningful data. After that, we're going to dive into 3 levels of LNA. This is where we'll start to see how everything connects. And then finally, I'll show you how to turn all the insights you've gathered into an actionable plan. So plans that are aligned with organizational goals and tailored to meet specific learning gaps. And by the end of the workshop, you'll have a clear framework for conducting a learning needs analysis plus practical tips you can use immediately. So let's start by understanding what a learning needs analysis is, or LNA is, and how it's different from a training needs analysis, a TNA. So a learning needs analysis is a strategic ongoing process. It looks at the organization's current capabilities and the future needs. It's about building skills that align with the organization's long-term goals. Think of it as a way to future-proof your team or business. A TNA, on the other hand, is more kind of immediate. It focuses on a specific task or project. For example, let's say a spa introduces a new treatment. A TNA might focus on the training a team on the technical steps of the treatment. So how do you actually do a LNA, a learning needs analysis? One key is involving stakeholders. Now, if you're not familiar with this term, a stakeholder is anyone who has a role or interest in the success of your training. So this could be managers who oversee the team, subject matter experts who have kind of deep knowledge of the content, or even the team members themselves who will benefit from the training. By including multiple stakeholders, you get a 360-degree view of the gaps and the needs within the organization, which is something TNA might miss. I once worked with a wellness center that was struggling with client retention. The manager thought the issue was the therapist's technical skills, but after talking to the staff and looking at client feedback, it became clear the real issue was communication during consultations. The LNA uncovered this gap, which led to targeted training that will significantly improve client satisfaction. I want to talk to you about why a learning needs analysis is so essential and why it goes far beyond just identifying training topics. The first is alignment with the business strategy. So LNA ensures that the skills you're developing in your workforce are directly tied to the goals of the organization. Think of it as a connecting the dots. For example, if a beauty brand is preparing to launch a premium product line, the training should focus on the high-end customer service, product expertise, and techniques that match the brand's image. Without this alignment, you might end up training staff on skills that don't actually move the needle for the business. Second, building long-term organizational capabilities. This is where an LNA really shines. It's not just about addressing today's gaps, but also about preparing for the future. So let's say a wellness retreat is expanding into offering digital consultations. The LNA might reveal that staff need both technical skills to use the new platform and soft skills to maintain a personalized touch virtually. And by addressing these needs proactively, you're future proofing the organization. Third, helps to enhance employees' engagement and career growth. So here's something I've learned from experience. When people see that their organization is invested in their development, it boosts morale and engagement. I once worked with a spa team where therapists felt stuck in their roles. Through the learning needs analysis, we identified a gap in leadership skills and we introduced a development program for aspiring managers. Not only did it fill the skills gap, but it also motivated the team and created clear pathways for career progression. And finally, it helps to avoid wasted time and resources. So without LNA, there's a risk of kind of delivering training that doesn't address the actual needs of the organization or the learners. For example, I've seen teams put through expensive technical training only to realize later that the real issue was a lack of teamwork and communication. So an effective LNA saves everyone time, energy, money, and by targeting the areas that actually matter most. So this is why it's so important and powerful that LNA transformed training from being just an operational task to become a strategic lever for success. It's the difference between checking a box and truly creating value. So when you invest the time to conduct an LNA properly, you're not just solving immediate problems, you're building a foundation for sustainable growth. So let's look at some best practices. First, your LNA must align with organizational strategy. For instance, if a beauty brand wants to expand its retail line, your LNA should focus on sales training and customer service. Second, engage with the right people, managers, subject matter experts, and employees. Their input will give you that 360 view. Third, use a mix of methods such as surveys, interviews, observations, and even casual chats. Sometimes an informal conversation can reveal gaps you might not notice otherwise. And finally, stay agile. A great LNA is a living document. It evolves as the organization grows and changes. So LNA happens at three different levels: organizational, team, and individual. At the organization level, think big. How does the company's overall strategy translate into skills needs? For example, if a spa chain is expanding internationally, you'll need to upskill staff in cultural awareness and consistent operational practices. At the team level, focus on department specific needs. For instance, the therapist in one spa may need training on new treatment protocols. And finally, at the individual level, it's all about personal development. If your therapist wants to kind of move into management, their plan might include leadership training, financial management skills. These levels work together to create a comprehensive picture. Data collection methods. So, collecting data for your learning needs analysis is like assembling the pieces of a puzzle. To get the complete picture, you need to gather insights from a variety of sources. So, let's explore methods in detail and how they can kind of fit into the process. First, surveys and interviews. So, surveys are great ways for when you need to reach a large group of people quickly and collect consistent feedback. They work well for identifying general kind of themes, like how confident the team members feel in their skills or which areas they think they need improvement. For example, in a wellness center, you could ask therapists to rate their confidence in upselling retail products on a scale of 1 to 5. Next, interviews. Interviews, on the other hand, give you a more in-depth one-to-one conversations, which allows you to ask follow-up questions and uncover specific challenges. For instance, a spa manager might tell you during an interview that staff struggle with maintaining energy during long shifts. That's something a survey might not reveal. Second, observations and team meetings. Observations is about watching what's happening in real time. I remember shadowing a beauty therapist who was brilliant at her treatments but struggled with keeping to schedule. That observation led to time management training that benefited the whole team. Attending team meetings is another effective way to gather insights. These meetings often bring up reoccurring challenges that people face in their roles. Plus, it shows that you're engaged and interested in their day to day experiences. Next, performance reviews and competency frameworks. So, if the organization that you work in uses performance reviews, these are gold mines for understanding individual and team capabilities. They highlight areas where employees are excelling and where they need support. Competency frameworks, if available, outline the skills and behaviors required for specific roles, helping you to measure gaps against those standards. The fourth one is business plans and documentations. So don't forget to dig into organizational data. Business plans, departmental objectives, and job descriptions all provide valuable context. For example, if a company's business plan highlights expansion into the luxury market, your training might need to focus on elevating customer service standards to meet those expectations. Now, here's the key. Use a combination of these methods. Relying on just one approach like surveys won't give you the full picture, and always respect confidentiality. If someone shares a skills gap or challenge, ensure that information is handled sensitively. This builds trust and encourages honesty, which leads to more accurate data. And by the end of this stage, you'll have a rich set of insights that form the foundation for a strong LNA. Remember, this isn't just about identifying gaps, it's about understanding the story behind those gaps and finding ways to address them effectively. So, before you dive into the analysis, you want to take time to understand the expected performance standards. In the beauty industry, for example, good might mean not just performing treatments effectively, but also building strong client relationships. Next, you want to assess existing skills. What are your team strengths? Where are they falling short? Finally, don't just focus on today's gaps, think about future needs. What emerging trends or technologies could shape your industry, and how can you prepare your team now? Once you have completed your learning needs analysis, the next step is turning those insights into actionable plans. This is where everything comes together. Your data, observations, and stakeholders' input are transformed into strategies that make tangible impact. So let's break this down. First, create a clear report. Your report should summarize the key gaps that you've identified and highlight the most critical kind of priorities. Think of it as a roadmap. For example, if you've discovered that the spa team struggles with retail sales, but their technical skills are strong, your priorities should be the sales training, whilst acknowledging that their strengths as well. A good report keeps everyone aligned. It's a tool you can share with your managers, stakeholders, and their L&D team. Second, develop learning plans for teams and individuals. Here's where you'll start kind of tailoring solutions. So, on a team level, you might design a workshop to improve customer consultation skills. On an individual level, you could offer personalized development plans for aspiring managers, focusing on leadership and decision making. Each learning plan should be practical and directly tied to what the person or team needs to succeed. Third, align the training with organizational goals. This is the big picture. Your training initiatives should clearly support the organization's strategies. So let's say a wellness retreat aims to improve customer retention rates. Your L&D revealed that staff struggled with follow-up consultations. In this case, the kind of training should include techniques for maintaining client relationships beyond the initial session. By aligning your solutions with business objectives, you ensure that the training isn't just busy work, it's driving meaningful results. And finally, you need to measure the impact. So, this step is often overlooked, but it's so critical. How do you know your training worked? You need to set clear metrics for success, whether that's an increase in customer satisfaction scores, a boost in retail sales, or reduced employee turnover. For instance, after delivering sales training to a SPA team, you might track monthly sales figures to see if there's a kind of upward trend. Measuring impact not only provides the value of training, but also helps you refine future initiatives. So here's the key takeaway. Using your L&D results effectively means bridging the gap between what you've discovered and the actions you take. When done right, the process not only improves performance, but also builds trust with stakeholders and demonstrates true value of your role as a trainer. So let's put this into practice. Imagine you've joined a wellness retreat and you've heard complaints about the quality of yoga sessions. What do you do? Start by deciding how you gather the data. Would you interview staff, observe classes, review guest feedback? Then think about the three specific goals for the training. Maybe it's improved posture, corrections, or client engagement during sessions. Finally, decide how you will measure success. For example, you could track a reduction on complaints or increase of kind of positive reviews. This kind of structured thinking makes LNA less intimidating and more actionable. Here are some tips I wished I known when I started. First, take the time to build relationships. It's easier to gather honest insights when people trust you. Second, be flexible. Things don't always go as planned, and that's okay. And finally, communicate your findings clearly. Share your LNA results with stakeholders and explain why you're recommending certain things. This not only shows your professionalism, but also makes people more invested in the process. And that's it. That's how you will go about conducting a learning needs analysis. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope that this session has given you the confidence to hopefully conduct your own learning needs analysis. Remember, this process isn't just about ticking boxes, it's about creating training that makes a real difference.